Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
This is just a friendly reminder that Valentine's Day is dumb. It's a holiday created by chocolate companies to make you feel guilty and buy their products. But here's the thing, if you have somebody you love or appreciate in your life, you can let them know literally any day of the year. Any day of the year you can wake up and tell somebody you love them, or get them a card, or make them something, or just empty the friggin' dishwasher. You know, you can do a million little things to say I love you any day of the week, and you don't need to rely on a candy company to do it. So, hey, if there's somebody out there that you care about, tell them you love them. Tell them you love them.
In the spirit of Valentine's Day, and as a request from one of our very own, Fairly Fire, except the A is a Q, so I'm pretty sure it's still Fairly Fire. I don't know, let me know if I'm doing it wrong. We're going to talk about love. A little good, a little bad, a little ugly, but we're going to talk about it. And as far as Valentine's Day being a corporately sponsored holiday, I do definitely believe that it has become that way, where everybody's expected to give everybody something for Valentine's Day, when you don't necessarily have to, because you can give someone you love something any day of the year and tell them you love them. And it doesn't have to be chocolate. It doesn't have to be flowers. Like he said, something as simple as unloading the dishwasher. My husband did that for me this morning. I love it.
I think love is insanity because as a human, everything about you says protect my life,
Right.
protect your being. When somebody flinch at you, you just immediately, scared or not, like you just move, right? Bus coming, get the fuck away. Something too hot, stop touching it. Something too cold, stop touching it. Somebody shooting, get away from the shooting. All the time, right? What one thing in the world could make any of that void?
Love, for sure.
The only thing, nothing else in the world.
Yeah. Because love is when you're going to actually
Put yourself in harm's way.
to help another person.
Nothing else on planet Earth can make you do that except love. That has to be some form of insanity.
I've never thought of love as insanity, but that is so true. When you truly love someone, like a spouse or a child, even a family member, and they're in danger, and you're just going to forsake your own safety and try to save them. And that's pretty fantastic. It's incredible the lengths that some people have gone to for love. And we're going to cover a few of those today, so stick around.
So Jeff and Sheila, the owners of Twin Flame Universe, have been accused of making people transition their gender to fit their agenda. So first of all, in 2020, online cults started taking place. What's interesting about this cult, they have made a multi-level marketing scheme based on them selling you the idea of your perfect match. There was a story of these twin sisters. Her sister got caught up in this twin flame universe. Her sister abandoned her family and went on to live with her twin flame that she didn't even know. So because Jeff and Sheila had told her that her family's holding her back from her twin flame ascension.
He's just trying to isolate them.
Exactly. Jeff actually started telling the people in the class that he was Jesus.
Dog.
Yeah. They started telling people in the group, hey, your twin flame is in this group and is only in this group. So Jeff will come back and be like, oh, like I just got like a discernment. You are this person's twin flame. And it's funny how they're all in the same group because they're paying for it. So he was controlling the marriages. He was controlling their finances. He was controlling their ideology and their spirituality. That is the essentials of how to become a cult leader 101.
There's a documentary about the Twin Flames cult, and I watched it probably like 8 months ago, and we talked about it here on the channel. And it is absolutely mind-boggling what Jeff and Shalia are doing to these people who are just looking for love. Like they just want it so bad that they're easily manipulated, and they're pretty much doing anything that Jeff and Shalia tell them to do, because Jeff claims to have like a line to God or be the second coming. It's absolutely insane. I highly recommend you check it out. Here's some other stuff about Twin Flames that is very out there.
Hi Twin Flames, today we have some breaking news for you guys, a major news flash to share with you, and something that's really going to either confirm what you already know or give you a whole new perspective on the Twin Flame journey. And it is
that your twin flame wants to be with you just as much as you want to be with them. And it's really a core decision that everyone desires within their hearts. And Maybe some people have it layered with, all of this,
Doubts and fears.
yeah, layered with all these thoughts and fears, and they're in a cave of this fear, and it's hard for them to really see this right now. But if you want to do one thing to allow them to realize this truth as well, then you can work on healing these fears and thoughts within yourselves by doing the mirror exercise. And it really allows you to come clear with your divine self and align with all of the things that you desire within your life.
Yeah, by you doing the work for your union, this is what's going to reflect to you how much your twin flame truly desires you. And they're going to start to show you that on the outside as well. And with each upset you heal through the mirror exercise, with each coaching session you have, which each post you make in the community where you're engaging with other people and working on your divine purpose and creating your divine life for yourself, that's what's going to attract your twin flame and create the safety and purity and innocence and perfect environment for you to come together.
So what this mirror exercise is you've decided who your twin flame is based on the pitter patter. And what you're supposed to do is show that person how much you love them, whether they reciprocate it or not. And you continue showing them how much you love them. And eventually they're supposed to come and love you back because you're doing the mirror exercise. You're showing them, even if they run away. There are some people that have gotten restraining orders against these people in this cult that are like, but I love them. They're my twin flame. And the other person's like, leave me the heck alone. But you keep doing this mirror exercise. Keep going after them. It's absolutely insane.
Hey Flamers, I'm outside my twin flame's house that I found through Facebook. We've never spoken, we've never met, but this is who Jeff and Shelia told me was my twin flame and my one true love. So I'm gonna break into her house and confess my love. So wish me luck. Flamer out.
Yeah, it's something like that. They tell you just keep going. Jeff and Shalia sometimes even choose a person for you, and that's who they decide you have to have your relationship with. That's your twin flame, regardless of what you actually want or what the other person actually wants. It's crazy. It's taking advantage of people in the name of love, and it's unfortunate.
So romantic love is not really conducive to successful relationships, like by design. But until a certain point in human history, no one really considered that kind of love to be a positive experience. It's like there's a reason the Greeks said that he was pierced by Cupid's dart. Like you were shot. No one thinks being shot is a positive experience that they should go out and get for themselves. But in general, people who fell in love, it's a fall. It's a fall from grace, it's a fall from sanity, and are generally treated with, let's say, a pitiable indulgence because it's not really their fault. They couldn't help it. They're not in their right mind. But no, not for me, thank you. What changed is that we now, in most parts of the world, consider romantic love not only to be a positive and something that all people should want and seek out, but potentially the most important experience or the most important goal that a human being can aspire to, which is insane. It's totally crazy. It's like basically saying, from the perspective of the Greeks, that the best thing you could possibly be is depressed. Like, the Greeks saw limerence as a mental illness. And within that context, people striving and seeking out romantic love and the one and their soulmate, and it's like seeking out a distortion. It's seeking out a disease. Okay?
The evolution of love is really interesting to me. I've heard stories about marriages. They were not because of love. They were because they would profit the family. So a lot of them were arranged, and it wasn't until much later that love was actually introduced, and that is also highly profitable.
This is Alex and Donna Baustinas. These two have an amazing story that is a prime example of invisible string theory at work. While leading up to their wedding, Donna decided to go through some old childhood photos so she could put together a photo board for all the guests at their wedding. That's when she stumbled upon this photo of herself and her siblings back when they were at Disney World in 1980. Very innocuous picture, just her and her siblings, until she looked a little bit closer at this photo. In the background, she noticed a gentleman that looked exactly like her future father-in-law. And in the stroller that he was pushing turned out to be her future husband, Alex. So it turns out these two had been at Disney World at the exact same time, years before they'd ever met and even knew each other existed. Not only that, but that exact moment was captured on film. This is a truly incredible story. Craziest part is Alex and his family didn't even live in the same country. They lived in Canada. Donna and her family lived in Florida. What are the chances that two people who decided to get married would have crossed paths when they were children at Disney World, which has literally thousands of people walking around, but in one special moment, a picture of both of them crossing paths was captured right at the right time? How's that for coincidence?
The invisible string theory suggests that people are bound to one another, connected by obviously this invisible string, and somehow they get pulled together. But also it's kind of broad, like everybody is connected in one way or another. But that invisible string theory is something that people say, oh, we were bound to be together. That's kind of a cute little story.
When you think of NASA, you probably think of Neil Armstrong, the first person to walk on the moon, or the famous Apollo 11 mission, but not in this case. This is the case of a love triangle between astronaut Lisa Nowick, Colleen Shipman, and William O'Flynn. Lisa Nowick flew her first space mission, STS-121 Discovery, in July 2006. The mission focused on testing new safety procedures and equipment for the space shuttle program. Her second and final spaceflight was aboard STS-115 Atlantis. Lisa was also a captain in the United States Navy and had extensive experience as a naval flight officer. However, in 2007, that all changed when she became a cross lover. In February 2007, Lisa drove from Houston, Texas to Orlando, Florida to confront the woman who had won the affection of William, an astronaut that Lisa had been involved with. In a police report, it was claimed that Lisa drove all the way to Florida wearing a space diaper so she wouldn't have to stop at the bathroom for breaks. Lisa was wearing a black wig and trench coat when she approached Colleen's car in the parking lot of Orlando International Airport. Lisa sprayed Colleen with pepper spray and tried to get in her car. However, Colleen escaped and alerted the authorities. Lisa was later charged with attempted kidnapping, battery, and burglary with assault, and was eventually sentenced to probation, community service, and was dismissed from the astronaut corps by NASA.
The things you do for love, I guess. What I don't understand is what made her think that this was a good idea. Like, if she took this other woman out, I mean, one, she took somebody out. You don't just walk away after kicking somebody's bucket. And two, she thought she would just ride off into happily ever after with this guy. That makes zero sense. She was just all kinds of crazy. And I guess that's why they say love makes you insane.
One of the oldest and most famous cold cases of all time has now officially been solved and closed, and we are talking about the 137-year-old case of Jack the Ripper. His identity is finally officially known. I would like to formally introduce you guys to Jack the Ripper. This is Aaron Kaminsky, who immigrated from Poland to Whitechapel in 1881. Now, the way they discovered it was officially him, because he has long been considered a suspect, is there was a shawl found on one of his victims, Catherine Eddowes. On that shawl contained some blood. They tested that blood for DNA, and since he was a suspect, they reached out to a family member, his brother's great-great-granddaughter, for a sample. And guess what they found? A match. Now, Aaron here was only 23 at the time of the murders. He also suffered from schizophrenia and was in a mental asylum until his death in 1919.
Yes, I know that has nothing to do with love, but I needed a little break. And my husband brought that up to me this morning, going, hey, did you know they found out who Jack the Ripper was? And That is absolutely fantastic news. And how they did it? Awesome. And no wonder all of the bucket kicking stopped because dude was in an insane asylum. That'll do it. All right, let's get back to some love stuff.
The truth about St. Valentine's Day. And it might make you a little... yeah. So St. Valentine's, a 26 billion with a B industry that exists around a day of love. But why do we celebrate St. Valentine's Day? Especially when we find out Valentine's Day originally commemorated a Christian martyr losing his head in the 3rd century. Who is Valentine? We don't exactly know who or which Valentinus was the actual Saint Valentine, and there's some options, which is one reason so many dang churches in Europe from Rome to Ireland profess to have pieces of his skull or his whole skull in their reliquaries, which makes one ask who in the heck do all of these skulls belong to? But the chronography of 354, the earliest list of Roman Christian martyrs, doesn't mention Saint Valentine, although that list was compiled by a Christian named Valentinus, a popular name at the time. But later lists compiled between 460 and 544 do include this Saint Valentine, who in some versions of the tale was a 3rd century priest or bishop who ministered to persecuted Christians of the Roman Empire and was unalived for his efforts. Other legends say that he was a martyr in Africa, but the most popular stories by far have him located square in Rome. Regardless, the Feast of St. Valentine was established by Pope Gelasius on February 14th, 496 AD, and by the 8th century, the occasion evolved to St. Valentine's Day.
That is just one of so many origin stories for Valentine's Day. And personally, I think if you love somebody, tell them, show them all the time. You don't need a day for it.
If I told you Valentine's Day was banned by England in 1635, its origins of turning goats into whips are suspect to say the least, and it's no coincidence people eat hearts on Valentine's Day. Chocolate ones, of course. You see, Valentine's Day isn't just about roses, chocolates, and love letters. No, that's just what they tell you. It started as a pagan fertility festival, one deeply rooted in ancient rituals of lust, control, and primal human impulses. Its origins trace back to the Greek festival Lycaea, which then led to the Roman festival Lupercalia. Each day was dedicated to their gods, Lycaeus, Pan, Zeus, Faunus, Lupercus, and Lupa. These gods were worshipped for their connection to nature, fertility, and the untamed forces of the earth. Pan and Faunus governed the wild, carnal instincts of humanity, while Zeus Lycaeus was associated with the untamable, primal energy of the natural world. During Lupercalia, the Luperci, a group of Roman priests, would gather at the sacred Lupercal cave to perform wild rituals. They began with the sacrifice of goats, followed by anointing themselves with the red stuff I can't mention here. Then they would use the goat skins to whip women in the streets, believing it would promote fertility and protect against infertility. The entire festival was about releasing primal instincts, a chaotic breakdown of societal norms through ecstatic behavior, wild dancing, and intense sexual freedoms. Both festivals involved sacrifices I can't go into detail about, frenzied rituals, and the release of primal instincts. The wildness was a ritualistic necessity, a breakdown of the rigid societal structures that kept human beings from truly connecting with their base, instinctual selves. In the 5th century, Pope Gelasius I, instead of eradicating these practices, Christianized them. He replaced the Roman gods with Saint Valentine, a Christian martyr. Through this shift, the fertility-driven, chaotic celebrations of Lupercalia were sanitized and rebranded as a day of romantic love, morphed into the more commercial version we know today. But let's not be fooled, that original raw energy still lurking under the surface. Fast forward to England in 1635, ever determined to protect their values. They saw Valentine's Day as a celebration of immorality. They banned the holiday outright, seeing it as a day that promoted excessive sexuality and disregard for the sanctity of marriage. In their eyes, the ritualistic excesses of Lupercalia, along with its connection to wild, untamed sexuality, had no place in their society. So, next time you hand someone a card or buy that chocolate heart, just remember, there's far more to Valentine's Day than meets the eye. And one last thing, I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes.
Was that just a joke? For entertainment purposes only? It was very entertaining. I thought it was fantastic. I know Lupercalia is an actual thing. I don't know if the two are associated, but it was a pretty good story. Speaking of stories, I found another story. I think there's like 10 parts to it. I'm not 100% certain, but we're going to check it out. It has nothing to do with love. It's alien stuff.
Came in through Operation Paperclip. His name is Rudolph, Arthur Rudolph. He is the chief architect of the F-1 Saturn V moon rocket engines of Apollo. But he's also a full Gestapo Nazi, and he's responsible for tens of thousands of deaths at people at Metalworks, Peenemünde, where they build the V-2 rockets. And Von Braun told me, if he'd ever show up at anything I'm doing, you are in such trouble, because this guy will take command. So Lisa knew who he was, and I could tell Colonel Williams knew who he was, and Colonel wasn't happy. So he come walking over to me, and I went, "Hi, my name's David. What's your name?" He wouldn't answer. He said, he just said, "I'm just a guy that goes around looking at hardware for the military. I understand you got a different kind of rockets here." I said, "Yeah. You want to see it?" And he said, "Sure." So I take him over to it, and he gets on the opposite side of me. The rocket's between us. And he said, "Can you open it up and let me see?" I said, "Sure." So I take a big block of metal in my hand and run it down the hall, and the panel lifts up and slides over. And he's looking at my hand and that block of metal. "What is that?" And I go, "Oh, it's called a dissimilar metal lock." I went, "It's old. It's World War II technology. You don't have one of these?" He got mad on that one, and I guess I may have insulted him, but he apparently didn't know anything about it. He said, "That's pretty advanced." I thought, "It's old stuff. It's not advanced." So he sticks his head down into the engine area. I thought this would be a good time to say something to him. So I lean over and I was saying to his ear while he's looking down, I said, "This engine has about 1,000,000 times the power of the F-1 Saturn V moon rocket engines, Dr. Rudolph." Man,
which he made.
Oh, man, he raised up. I've never seen anybody get that red before. I mean, he looked like a barber pole. And he looked at me and goes, "Who are you?" And I go, "I'm just a kid that launches rockets in cow fields over here in Ohio." And then things just went south from there. He took over completely. He took over the launch. He had me reprogram the off-the-shelf navigation to an area about 456 miles, if I remember right, northwest of us. Anyway, he dropped it in a place called Groom Lake, Nevada. And I guess y'all call it today Area 51.
Right.
I never heard of Area 51 in 1971. Just Groom Lake's all I knew.
So what happened when you got it to Groom Lake?
Well, once it got out of White Sands and launched, I was curious about Groom Lake, so I pulled geophysical maps. And it says just a big dry lake bed, and I said, "Did you see this black DC-9? It's got rubber tires. You're gonna more up to its belly in this dry lake." He tells me to shut up and get on the plane. Well, he's got a good reason, because when we get there, it's big runways. It's an Air Force base. It's not on my maps. Well, we kind of circled the base at first, and we saw Pittsland laying out on the desert floor.
That's your rocket.
Exactly where they wanted it. That's the only compliment I think I ever got from Rudolph. He said, "You landed it precisely on mark." And I thought, yeah, well, good. Gave
The
out.
rocket could land?
On the sides of the rocket, I built these big slip-slide containers that have parachutes. These two parachutes came out, and these parachutes are tank parachutes. 70-ton tank.
Right.
So the rocket landed just like a feather. There's no damage. It's perfect. Just laying on the desert floor. Parachutes blowing around it. So anyway, we land. We taxi over to there were 3 hangars, I remember. And there was a lot of construction going on. This is June 20th, 1971. And there's construction all over this base. Runways everywhere. So we go to the center hangar. And I thought, man, this is really strange. None of this is on my maps. And these are government maps.
Like I said, there's like 10 or 11 parts of this particular story, and I'm hoping it gets good. This one was actually released after like part 5 or 6 as a backstory, but since it said prequel, I figured we'd do it first, and we will catch part 1 on Monday. I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Come on back in a couple of days. We're going to watch some new stuff. I'll say different things, and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day. Oh, and happy Valentine's Day. I love you. Well, that is an interesting concept of using love as a bargaining chip. I'm not going to do that. To feel loved. And it is also like that when, it's called escaping the twin flame, something like that, escaping. And Shalia, and I can't remember the name of the other guy. What was his name? So, and you have to do what they say because they're the second coming of Christ or some stuff. But in reality, no. And she was just gonna get away with it. Like they weren't gonna come and find her. She was just so infatuated. So love makes you do some apparent, come on. That's absolutely awesome. They finally have a face. They finally have a name. No, light. Profitable for, well, chocolate companies, flower companies, all of the above, card companies, chalk hearts. Don't do that.